We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
The Supreme Court keeps Trump on the ballot. Democrats plan to try to remove him anyway. CBS sued over DEI overreach and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. The U.S. Supreme Court sided unanimously with former President Trump in his challenge to the state of Colorado's attempt to kick him off the 2024 primary ballot. All 9 justices ruled in favor of Trump in the case, which will impact the status of efforts in several other states to remove the likely GOP nominee from their respective ballots. The court considered for the first time the meaning and reach of Article 3 of the 14th Amendment, which bars former office holders who engaged in insurrection from holding public office again. Challenges have been filed to remove Trump from the 2024 ballot in over 30 states, and all of these are expected to now fail due to SCOTUS's decision. We conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency, the court wrote. Further, the court ruled that if Trump wins the election, Congress could not use the 14th Amendment to deny certifying him as the winner. Liberal pundits complained that the court did not address the issue of whether or not Trump committed insurrection. The court could not address that issue because no lower court has decided on it, nor has Trump been charged with insurrection in any court of law. Trump reacted to the ruling in a post on Truth Social, saying, "Big win for America." According to a report published in Axios on Monday, Representative Jamie Raskin, the Democrat from Maryland and a former member of the January 6th Select Committee, said he is already crafting federal legislation that would force Trump off the ballot. Democrats need to get a grip. In this country, the American people decide the next president, not the courts and not the Congress, said a spokesperson from Speaker Mike Johnson's office. According to the Axios report, Raskin referenced legislation he introduced in 2022 with Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz that would allow the Justice Department to sue to keep candidates off the ballot under the 14th Amendment. "We are going to revise it in light of the Supreme Court's decision," Raskin told the outlet. He suggested that the bill would be paired with a resolution declaring January 6th an insurrection, and that those involved engaged in insurrection. The proposed law stating that January 6th participants engaged in insurrection would be unconstitutional because that is a decision that needs to be made in the courts. It is very unlikely that either of these proposed bills would make it to the floor of the House, and if they did, they do not have the votes to pass. A United Nations report said sexual violence, including rape, occurred during the October 7th attacks on Israel by Hamas, and that there is clear and credible evidence that female hostages were raped. The UN also said that a lack of forensic evidence collected from the scene of the attack means the true extent of violence committed against women may never be fully known. Pramila Patten, the UN Secretary General's special representative on sexual violence in conflict, recommended a comprehensive investigation when she said her team's roughly 2-week trip to Israel didn't set out to undertake. The team reviewed over 5,000 photos and 50 hours of audio and video footage of the October assault provided by various Israeli state agencies and open sources. They also conducted interviews with survivors and witnesses of October 7th attacks as well as with first responders and released hostages. There is no doubt that Hamas committed sexual violence against women. The European Commission hit Apple with a 1.8 billion euro or $1.95 billion fine after concluding that the company used its dominance to restrict music streaming competition. European regulators determined that for a decade, Apple prevented music streaming services from telling iPhone users that they could get cheaper subscriptions outside of Apple's App Store, which resulted in users paying higher prices. The fine is the third largest penalty ever levied by the European Union against a company. Apple called out Spotify, whose 2019 complaint against Apple prompted the investigation that led to the penalty, as the primary advocate for this decision and its biggest beneficiary, claiming that the Sweden-based company is the one with the monopoly in the music streaming market. Apple plans to appeal the fine. CBS Studios and its parent company Paramount have been sued for carrying diversity quotas that discriminate against straight white men in what may be the opening legal salvo against efforts to boost diversity and inclusion in Hollywood in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision knocking down affirmative action. Brian Beneker, a script coordinator for SEAL Team, alleges in a lawsuit filed in California federal court Wednesday that he was repeatedly denied a staff writer job after the implementation of an illegal policy of race and sex balancing that promoted the hiring of less qualified applicants who were members of more preferred groups, namely those who identified as minorities, LGBTQ, or women. He seeks at least $500,000 as well as a court order making him a full-time producer on the series and barring the further use of discriminatory hiring practices. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.